We didn't invite you here to waste your time. We invited you here to give you an earth-shaking announcement that from this day forward, we will be challenged to prove. But if you watch us, if you listen to us, I guarantee you every nation and every kingdom on earth will be rocked by the power coming from this tiny little budding nation that Jesus described as a mustard seed. That's right. But when it germinates and grows and spreads its branches, every fowl and every bird will find a refuge under its wings. You are looking at the birth not just of the nation of Islam, but the birth of the kingdom of God Almighty on earth. You Muslim scholars, you are looking at the birth of the kingdom of Islam. We called you here like the wise men of old who saw a star and they traveled to where the baby was. The baby had no room to come to birth. She had to give birth in a manger, or come to birth in a manger. The wise men who saw the baby came bringing gold. What baby needs gold? All babies that I know of need milk. But here's a baby that needs gold. Gold for what? It's not talking about a child being born from a single mother. It's talking about a nation coming to birth that needs gold to build its own institutions and carve out a destiny for itself. When we speak of need, when we speak of physical and material need, human need, then we speak in universal terms because our physical, material, and human needs are basically the same. So this message that we bring you this evening will focus on our common needs, our common desire to satisfy needs, and a common solution that will give us the satisfaction of all of our basic needs. Africa, the Caribbean, black people in America, the American Indians, the third world people, people throughout the world have an economic need. Africa has a need for the knowledge and technology that will allow Africa to take her resources and put them into her service and the service of others. The Caribbean has that same need. Indian people in America have an economic need. Though they live on reservations, there must be the knowledge and technology to transform those reservations into actual havens for the Indian people. They need knowledge and technology. Yes, black people in America, for us, we don't have any land, no mineral wealth, but what we have as a resource is the wealth and talent of our own being, over which we have no mastery. So we must regain control of ourselves. Then we must gain control of $190 billion purchasing power that we are blessed to get out of the American economy. So let us start this afternoon with black people here in America, because black people and Indian people are a significant factor in the liberation struggle of all oppressed people throughout the world. The black people in America over the last 4 centuries of our sojourn have produced many great leaders. There are 5 great leaders who have left us 5 great legacies. These 5 great leaders are Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, beloved, Frederick Douglass gave us the brilliance of oratory and the basis for protest to demand justice from a government and people who had deprived us of the essentials of life. Booker T. Washington gave us the legacy of black people being trained in agriculture and industry that the black man and woman may begin to do for ourselves. But Booker T. Washington did not necessarily agree that blacks should return to Africa, but he said we should drop our buckets down where we are, meaning that we should draw life and sustenance from the soil under our feet. Wherever we are on the earth, that is ours. Don't you ever think that the earth belongs to anyone but the righteous. Listen. Another great legacy came from W.E.B. Du Bois. He felt that among us was a talented tenth whose mind should be developed in philosophy, in the development of ideas, that we should become thinkers, formulators, and planners. The Honorable Marcus Garvey wanted black people to recognize the value of themselves and the value of Africa. He wanted blacks who were persecuted in America to return to Africa, to build Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. From these 4 great leaders and their 4 great legacies come the movements that flourished in the 1960s. The civil rights movement of Martin Luther King Jr. and all of the civil rights leaders springs from the legacy of Frederick Douglass and W.E.B. Du Bois. A significant economic movement, however, did not spring from Booker T. Washington. Do you know why? The other leaders were so busy not studying his strategy, but calling him an Uncle Tom. So when he was maligned as an Uncle Tom, and those of us who came after Booker T. Washington began to see him as an Uncle Tom, we didn't pay attention to what the man said. So out of Booker T. Washington, no significant economic movement began. If we would have produced that great economic movement from Booker T. Washington, we wouldn't even be talking about what we're talking about today, power at last forever. We would have it. Marcus Garvey was the father of nationalist thought in America. And from Mr. Garvey has sprung a significant movement. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, many historians don't really want to give him credit. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was similar to these 4 great leaders, but yet he was different. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad adapted the program of nation building with the demands of Frederick Douglass for equal justice. His program fulfilled the talented 10th concept of W.E.B. Du Bois, linking it with the philosophy of Booker T. Washington. He asked for separation, either to return to Africa or for separate states here in America. This was hard on our ears, but he also said quite subtly that he could show us how to get along better with our slave masters' children. So in the germ or the seminal stage of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what we see is the synthesis of the approach of these four great leaders and their legacies, and a basis for an entirely new civilization. So what Louis Farrakhan represents today, that you consider a new direction, is nothing more than the development of the synthesis of these four great leaders and their legacies to create from this synthesis a new movement. Not a national movement, but a new movement that is international in scope. And this is why today you see members of the nations of Africa, the Caribbean, the Middle East, the Indians, people from all over the world represented, because what we represent is not going to be bound by the geography of America. It will leap the borders of the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean and unite black, brown, red, and yellow peoples all the way around the world, and those whites of goodwill who care to join this endeavor. So all of our young people, the young college students, the young warriors, the so-called gang bangers, I want you to come on and join me in the Nation of Islam, and let us be the army of Almighty God to establish righteousness and justice and peace on this earth. What is Islam? What is Islam? Well, you know, I'm a Muslim. This is a Muslim convention. Well, so everybody who is here, whether you say you're a Muslim or not, should take away with you some knowledge of what is Islam, so that you will not feel, though you are a Christian or Hebrew or a nationalist or whatever your ideological, philosophical, or religious persuasion may be, that you are distant from us and we distant from you. What is Islam? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that Islam is the son, S-U-N, of law and truth. He said Islam is help to the helpless poor. He said Islam is everything in the universe. Islam is freedom, justice, and equality. He said Islam is that which was taught by all the prophets of God. What? I didn't know that. Don't get excited. Hold on. Islam is the means by which men and women enter into complete peace with God. Islam is that which enables a human being to be at peace with his fellow human beings. Islam dignifies. Islam civilizes. Islam brings man and woman into perfect union with God. Islam is access to power. Islam is the basis for building a world that will never see an end. Well, my God, if this is Islam, why haven't I heard of it before? And what does it mean? The word Islam in terms of language is a gerund. And a gerund is a verbal noun. Islam is the name of a religious system that demands action on the basis of belief. No person can say they are a Muslim just because you believe, but Islam demands action on the basis of your belief. Islam is peace and contentment of mind. I hope that I have not offended you who say, I'm a Christian, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Buddhist, I'm Baha'i, I'm a Confucianist, I'm a Taoist, I'm a believer in Zoroaster or Jesus Christ or Moses or David or Solomon or Ibrahim, Ishmael and Muhammad. No, no, no. Islam only means complete surrender to actively do the will of God. We can't go in there yet because that house is going to be a glorious house. With a golden dome of pure gold. Come and see. Well, Farrakhan, why would you put gold on that house? It's a sign of the gold that is on our heads. What is gold? Gold is that which is taken from the bowels of the earth and put through a process. When it comes out of the earth, it is black, but when you purify it, it becomes the most marvelous conductor of electricity. We are a people taken from the bowels of the earth, and God wants to purify us that we may become perfect conductors of His divine Spirit. With a pure knowledge, a perfect praise. Yes, sir. On the dome, we shall cover our minds with a hood of the most purified knowledge. Just as that house built by the Greeks, a Jewish architect under the hand of God guided that brilliant architect and the Greeks to build one of the 8 finest houses in America. I would say it is probably the finest house in all of America because of the mathematics, the high degree of symbols and signs that are in every measurement, every door, every window, in all the arches in that house. But that house, when we found it and redeemed it with the sweat and the blood and the sacrifice of poor Muslims, the rich Muslims didn't help us. The rich black people didn't help us. But poor, suffering Muslims who understood the significance of that house, and some of us didn't even understand its significance, but if Brother Farrakhan wants it, we'll help him get it. That's right. We brought 2,175,000 cash dollars to buy a house of stone. We began cleaning the outside, and it started attracting attention. We are dressing the outside, and we're going on the inside to purify that house. But oh, that house is not the great glory of God. It is this house that is the glory of God. You are a better house than every stone in the Kaaba at Mecca. You are a better house than Saint Sophia in Istanbul. You are a greater house than St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. There is not a house built for the glory of God that is equal to the least human being. In between these ears is the real house of God. He says in the Quran, and my throne is on water, and the cells of the brain, over 14 billion brain cells, nothing but water. If his throne is on the water and he settled himself on the throne, then when God comes in to the human mind and comes into and settles on the water of the brain, bringing up new vision, new wisdom, new understanding, then God has come to dwell in man. Then man can say, I am the glory of God. That all who are present, black and white, Muslim, Christian, Hebrew, Pan-Africanist, agnostic, atheist, nationalist, please open your hearts and listen. I swear by the day of resurrection, I swear by the self-accusing spirit. Who is swearing here? It is God himself. He is saying that by all of the power that he possesses, you will rise from your condition. I swear, he says, by all of the power that I possess, I created in you a spirit that accuses you when you are wrong. So by that self-accusing spirit, I swear by all the power that I possess that all of us will come up out of the condition that we are in, or we shall cease to exist on this earth. Do you think that we shall not gather your bones? I know you think this is gathering the bones in the cemetery. But did you know that we as a people and the human family that has potential life, divine life,
have become like unto bones? Look at yourself. Let us look at ourselves. Death disintegrates the flesh. Death destroys the features and the form. Death takes away our association with the characteristics of that which we once were. Human beings, no matter what color, what condition, what nation, what station of life we are in, we have all become as the bones of a long dead and decayed human being. The features, the characteristics, the form of a human being is no longer seen on the earth among the people, because the spirit of the human being is gone. The flesh that would make us known to family and friends is gone. The spirit of divine life is long dead. The rot and the stench of the disintegration of the human form comes up from our grave of ignorance and wickedness and stinks in the nostrils of God. Yet he says, are we not powerful to make complete your whole make? Brothers and sisters, if we are now as dried bones, what do we look like when we are made whole?
How dare you bow down to some image, some likeness, even though you are made in the image and the likeness? God don't want none of us bowing down to each other. We should bow down to him who originated us all and nobody else. Well, he who creates you is the legal, lawful, proper authority to give direction to our life. And nothing in creation has the right to supersede God in giving instruction to his creation. Nothing. Not the government. Not the president. Not the pope. Not the mullah or the sheikh. But if you don't know God's will, then somebody can play God and mess up your life. The devil is the origin of polytheism. But it doesn't start from outside, it starts from inside. I want you to hear me now. Whenever God gives an order, deceptive intelligence comes up to rationalize you are not doing what God say do. It don't come from outside, it starts right here. Let's look at it. Let's see if this is true. Here's a serpent. Eve is there. She's cool. And the devil says, hey, baby,